Won't happen anymore.
An incredible view from Skydrone 5 going underground inside a growing sinkhole in the East Bay, rupturing sewer lines and creating gridlock for drivers. Good evening. I'm Ken Bastida.
And I'm Elizabeth Cook. KPIX 5 reporter Dahl Lynn is live in Orinda, where this sinkhole is causing major problems for drivers. Dahl?
That's right. This sinkhole has wrecked a lot of people's commute. Now, this street here may look like a small road, but this is actually a major thoroughfare here in Orinda. And the city says this road will not be opened anytime soon. With the help of Skydrone 5, we've got to take a 360-degree view of this sinkhole.
It's frightening because I've never seen one in this area anywhere near that big.
It's a large sinkhole measuring roughly 25 feet wide, 15 feet long, and 20 feet deep. We sent Skydrone 5 into the hole to give us a view that we could have never gotten before.
It's pretty impressive. I mean, you don't see them too often.
The sinkhole opened up on a small bridge on Minor Road yesterday morning. Firefighters were responding to another call when they discovered it. A small hole at first, but the pavement quickly gave way.
I saw the fire engine jerk to a stop. They just slammed on the brakes just before they went over the bridge and stopped all the traffic on the other side to check it out. And on the other side were 2 school buses.
The sinkhole broke 2 sewer lines. Now contractors are trying to stabilize a water main that runs along the street before they can start the repair.
This is Minor Road. It's one of our 5 main roads in Orinda. So it's just the traffic impact is the worst part of it. 1 elementary school and 2 neighborhoods use the road to get in and out. Now there are detour signs all over the place.
It's a mile from here to the center of town, and so now it's probably closer to 5 or 6 miles.
It's a big inconvenience for the school and neighbors. The city says roughly 3,000 families live in this area. They hope to reopen Minor Road in 3 weeks.
I'll be surprised if it's only 3 weeks.
Yeah, the city says the 2 ruptured sewer lines did not cause any major problems and did not contaminate drinking water. That's the good news. Liz, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Daw, thank you. Meanwhile, in the East Bay, another road totally washed out. Take a look at these amazing images captured by Skydrone 5 in Pinole, showing what is a small canyon that now divides Alhambra Valley Road. You can see the water is flowing rapidly as the drone hovers over it. Skydrone 5 giving us another angle, this one from a place no other camera could get. Unbelievable. Inside the sinkhole, you can see just how deep the sinkhole truly is. Asphalt is still laying on the ground, surrounded by rocks and a muddy mess. There's now a fence surrounding the area, also spray painted "Stay Back" on the street itself on the left hand of your screen. Another attempt to keep onlookers away from the giant hole.
Some developing news in Hollister tonight. Don't drink the water. It may be contaminated. After intense flooding, environmental health officials are now warning the public that their tap water may not be safe to drink. Now, the warning applies to the entire town of Hollister. Arlen Ramirez is following this story. He'll have much more coming up at 6 o'clock. The water is slowly going down around the Russian River. That's the good news. And after several days of extreme flooding, it is welcome news to the people who are stuck cleaning up the mess. KPIX 5's Joe Vasquez checked out the damage in Guerneville and some nearby towns.
This is Neely Road, where an entire neighborhood has been landlocked since Sunday night. The good news for them, the floodwaters are now receding to below flood stage.
What a mess.
Like many homes here in the Guerneville area, Josh Van Wicklands is elevated. He lives upstairs, which stayed dry, but his brother's room downstairs,
Whoa.
That's a different story.
Your brother lives here?
Yeah. My brother lives on the other side of that wall in a bedroom over there.
The water over there is still a little too deep to safely survey. Josh says they did their best to clear the floor before the flood.
We got everything important off the ground, except for the microwave got left, obviously.
The Russian River peaked yesterday evening at nearly 38 feet. That's about 6 feet above flood stage. Floodwaters covered homes and streets in some of the lower-lying neighborhoods. This was River Boulevard in Monte Rio yesterday. Now look at it today. You can see how much the water has subsided. It's almost back to normal.
It's just an all-day process of cleaning up after a storm.
Today, it's all about the cleanup.
At my house, we have to power wash and throw everything away that's downstairs that we didn't move.
Try to get as much water out of the yard as we can.
Josh says he's not going to wait for the flood to leave. He is using an industrial-sized water pump.
This is minor. Major would be a lot deeper.
Well, it looks bad to me.
Yeah, well, it looks bad to a lot of people, but you live out here on the river, you're used to it, you know.
As bad as this looks, nearly everyone I spoke with here in Guerneville insists this is actually a minor flood. History has taught them things here could have been much worse. In Guerneville, Joe Vasquez, KPIX 5.
The recent heavy rain left a homeless man trapped on an island in a South Bay creek. Chopper 5 was over Coyote Creek in Milpitas as rescue crews brought in a boat to get him out around noon today. The man had been camping out for 2 days on the island. Now, normally you can walk out of there, but heavy rain brought the creek waters up too high. And new at 5 o'clock, a Good Samaritan in Campbell pulled a man out of the rushing Los Gatos Creek. Josh Bradshaw saw the man trying to ride his bike through the mess you see here, but the current was just too strong.
Oh, that was scary. I just dropped my phone and got off my bike and went and grabbed you. That was crazy.
You did a good job.
It
could have been worse, yeah.
Yes.
The man was unharmed, but that wasn't the case for his bike. It ended up getting swept down the rapids.
Take a look at these new pictures showing a very flooded Lake Del Valle in Livermore. The lake is now closed. You can see the bait shop here underwater along with the marina. Big grassy picnic area also submerged and closed off tonight. Chopper 5 over the lake just a few minutes ago. Water and debris making a mess of the picnic area. Unclear when this will be cleaned up and reopened.
Highway 37 near the 101 interchange in Novato is still flooded and still closed. Several cars that got stuck in the water during the storm were finally towed today. This stretch of Highway 37 is closed through Atherton Avenue. No word yet on when it will reopen.
And what a difference a year makes after some of the heaviest rain and snow we've seen in decades. 42% of California, and it feels so good to say it, is now officially out of the drought, including the Bay Area.
Yes.
Well, let's get right over to KPIX 5 Chief Meteorologist Paul Diano. Break it down, Paul.
Ken and Liz, every water district will do what it wants to do independent of the federal government. But according to the National Weather Service, the Bay Area, any town in the Bay Area, is officially no longer in a drought. You see yellow over the East Bay. What's that? That's abnormally dry. That's the first classification of drier weather, but that's technically not a drought. Doesn't start until the orange color. That said, Southern California is still in an exceptional drought, the worst kind, down toward Merced and Fresno, but the Bay Area is out of the drought. Snowpack, man, is it up a lot. 65% in a week, the increase, now 161% of average. But one thing to remember, we're talking about water above the ground, our reservoirs and the rainfall we've received. For every 1 gallon of water we have above ground, we have 10 to 100 gallons in our groundwater below ground. We don't know how bad that is. So the drought is much better. It's over officially, but we still need to conserve because there's a lot of water underground that we hope fills up as well. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Paul. Some scary moments in the High Sierra. Watch as this FedEx truck slips and slides down a snowy I-80 around Truckee. That is no fun. It jackknifed to the top of the hill, and despite locking it up, the driver there could not stop that truck from moving. CHP eventually arrived, cleared some space for the driver to get to the next open shoulder. And developing news in Washington, where the head of the FBI now finds himself the subject of an investigation. The Justice Department's Inspector General has opened a review into whether Director James Comey followed proper procedure in his own investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails. Now, the new probe won't do anything to change the results of the November election, but it revives some questions about whether the FBI's actions and Comey's late October letter about the case may have influenced the outcome.
Now, 3 more Trump cabinet nominees answering questions on Capitol Hill today. And Alan Martin tells us a running theme is beginning to develop. Alan?
Well, Liz, after 3 days of contentious hearings, it is becoming clear that many of the president-elect's own picks don't always agree with him on policy. Retired General James Mattis took his turn in the hot seat, seeking confirmation in front of the Senate Armed Services Committee.
It would be the highest honor if I am confirmed to lead those who volunteer to support and defend the Constitution
Mattis strayed from President-elect Donald Trump's positions on multiple issues, from relations with Russia and Putin.
We also have to recognize reality and what Russia is up to, and there's a decreasing number of areas where we can engage cooperatively.
To NATO, which Trump has called obsolete.
I would see us maintaining the strongest possible relationship with NATO.
Mattis, who retired in 2013, faces an extra hurdle, convincing all of Congress to bypass a law requiring military officers have a 7-year rest period before serving as Secretary of Defense. The Senate voted overwhelmingly in favor of it.
It will be the CIA's mission, and my own if confirmed, to ensure that the agency remains the best in the world.
Meanwhile, Trump's pick for CIA Director, Representative Mike Pompeo, also indicated stark differences with the president-elect.
It's pretty clear about what took place here, about Russian involvement in efforts to hack information and to have an impact on American democracy.
And assured the committee that he would not allow illegal interrogation tactics like waterboarding. Dr. Ben Carson, a Trump surrogate and pick for the Department of Housing and Urban Development, was also on Capitol Hill today.
I would enforce all the laws of the land.
California Senator Kamala Harris also grilled would-be CIA Director Mike Pompeo on gay rights. She asked the Kansas lawmaker to commit to treating LGBT employees equally, despite his public stance against same-sex marriage.
You have my assurance that every employee will be treated in a way that is appropriate and equal.
And that you will not put in place any policies that would discriminate against any members because of their sexual orientation.
Ma'am, I can't imagine putting in place any policy that was discriminatory with respect to any employee.
Thank you.
Confirmation hearings resume next week with the president-elect's picks for Commerce Secretary as well as Secretary of Education. Ken?
All right, thanks, Alan. The president-elect is taking steps to prevent future cyber attacks following Russia's interference in the election. He is hiring former New York mayor and longtime friend Rudy Giuliani to lead a new White House cyber security committee.
An Oakland congresswoman will not be attending the presidential inauguration. Congresswoman Barbara Lee says the incoming president, quote, rode racism, sexism, xenophobia, and bigotry to the White House, and she won't be honoring him.
I think that for some of us, we have to continue to resist this agenda that has been presented during the campaign and up to now.
Congresswoman Lee is joining North Bay Congressman Jared Huffman in the inauguration boycott.
New at 5, if you jaywalk in San Francisco, watch out. You could end up getting a ticket.
KPIX 5 Susie Steimel shows us SFPD is on a safety sting.
Odds are you've been one of them. At the very least, you've seen them. The cyclist who thinks they're above the law, the driver with no regard for pedestrians, and of course, the jaywalker.
I am a jaywalker. We do tend to follow less rules. That's what's fun about riding a bike.
The San Francisco Police Department is conducting special operations to help with traffic safety, especially in regards to bicycle and pedestrian safety.
Consider this your warning. Today is one of a handful of special enforcement days for pedestrian safety in the city of San Francisco. Police say fewer people are using cars to get around, and a lot of us are ignoring the general rules of the road. So they're starting to hand out tickets.
The goal is to have 0 fatalities on our streets by the year 2024.
The pedestrian enforcement team is usually seen on motorcycles. Today we saw them in the Mission District. They want people to drop the cavalier attitude and start taking their own safety seriously. Do you jaywalk?
Sometimes.
For some people, the threat of a ticket is all it takes to change their tune. Does that change your behavior?
Well, before when I was younger, I used to jaywalk, but not no more.
In San Francisco, Susie Steimel, KPIX 5.
Thousands of Bay Area families still cleaning up and drying out from back-to-back storms.
Coming up, Consumer Watch reporter Julie Watts breaks down what types of damage is covered by your insurance and which is not.
Plus, one of the most comprehensive reports ever just released on the health effects of marijuana.
And the surprise at the White House that made Joe Biden start crying.
The heavy rain may be over for now, but for a lot of homeowners, the recovery process is just beginning. And those filing insurance claims may be in for a few surprises. Consumer Watch reporter Julie Watts on what's typically covered and what's not.
It was wet and windy.
And our week of storms has taken a toll on many Bay Area homeowners.
Yeah, this was once our living room.
The Vassnor's home in Lafayette has been all but destroyed by a toppled tree. The good news, the damage will likely be covered by insurance. The bad news, the insurance adjuster won't be there till next week.
It came down and crushed about a third of the house.
While the Insurance Information Institute doesn't yet have any details on the surge of claims expected following our recent storms, many insurance claims will likely be due to water damage. And Insurance.com's Laura Adams says there's a general rule of thumb for that.
Water from above is covered with the policy. Water from the ground is considered flooding and would not be covered under a typical policy.
So damage from a leaky roof or a broken pipe in the home is generally covered under your homeowner's policy. But for flooding due to rain or swollen creeks, you would need supplemental flood insurance. And flooding due to city pipes or sewer backups are not necessarily covered by either. And there are exceptions for fallen trees as well. If a tree falls on your car, auto insurance will only help if you have comprehensive coverage.
If you only have liability, that damage will have to be paid out of pocket.
But if a tree falls on your house, like this one in Lafayette, the resulting damage is generally covered.
Holy moly.
Now, we did speak with several insurance adjusters today who declined to comment, but one adjuster told us that insurers are swamped with claims. On the Consumer Watch, Julie Watts, KPIX 5.
Fiat Chrysler is now accused of installing software on vehicles to cheat emissions tests. The new claims are similar to the charges against Volkswagen. Investigators say Fiat Chrysler added the software in about 100,000 diesel-powered cars and trucks. Officials are calling it a clear and serious violation of the Clean Air Act. Earlier this week, Volkswagen agreed to pay more than $4 billion to settle its similar charges.
And new at 5, a report out today shedding some new light on the effects of marijuana, both good and bad. The National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine finds that smoking pot does not increase your risk of cancer. And in cancer patients, researchers found that cannabis can actually relieve some symptoms and help with chemotherapy.
If anything, marijuana really helps ease that process of being able to intake food and digest and not have pain.
Chronic pain or spasticity associated with multiple sclerosis or nausea and vomiting that accompanies some types of chemotherapy.
Well, there was some bad news, too. The report also finds no evidence that marijuana helps people with other ailments like epilepsy or PTSD. It also shows that smoking pot can lead to long-term breathing problems and mental health problems like depression.
Also on the Health Watch, a new report says palm oil, a key ingredient in Nutella, may cause cancer. European officials are trying to list the oil as potentially carcinogenic, especially when it's processed and heated. However, officials did not ban palm oil from foods, but said more research is needed.
Well, it's official. The San Diego Chargers are moving north to Los Angeles. The team's chairman made that announcement today on Twitter. Now check out the new logo on the right. The white letters LA with a lightning bolt through them. It looks a lot like the Dodgers logo, kind of. And there are reports the team may still use the old logo, a yellow lightning bolt on its uniforms. The Chargers will play in Inglewood. They will share the stadium that's being built right now by the LA Rams. The Chargers' move comes less than 3 months after San Diego voters rejected a measure asking for more than $1 billion to help rebuild the stadium there. And big news today for the Rams as well. They have just hired Sean McVay to be their head coach. This guy is the youngest in NFL history. He just turned, he'll be turning 31 in just a couple of weeks. McVay spent the past 3 seasons as offensive coordinator for the Washington Redskins. Meanwhile, the Oakland Raiders are the other NFL team looking to relocate. The owner, Mark Davis, appears on track in his efforts to move the team to Las Vegas. New at 5, an iconic San Francisco restaurant and bar is losing its lease.
Yeah, in less than a month, Lefty O'Doul's will be leaving its long-standing spot in Union Square. Named after SF baseball great Lefty O'Doul, he was originally opened in 1940. The restaurant's owner says they're looking for a new location nearby and hopes to get it open by late fall.
Showers that are on the radar right now are wrapping up, and they will wrap up the second wettest start ever in the Bay Area to a calendar year. Coming up, how long we stay dry and what San Francisco has already done this year that it couldn't do at all just a few years ago. That's coming up.
And coming up all new at 6 tonight, a huge victory for some Bay Area nuns in the saga over where to move their soup kitchen. How their prayers were just answered with the help of some celebrity heavyweights.
Couldn't say this for the past 12 days. Those are the last showers we're going to see for a while. That's it. Couple showers impacting the commute. Once again, Highway 101 right through East Palo Alto, Menlo Park, Mountain View getting wet. One shower just left SFO, working its way down toward Foster City and the city of San Mateo. And even the chance of some additional snow showers up toward Mount Hamilton is now a drier but also cooler air mass is moving in. Things are finally calming down on KPIX 5 high-def Doppler. We've done something that's kind of unheard of. In the first 12 days of this year, we now have received more rain in San Francisco than all 365 days of 2013. That, of course, is the all-time driest year. That's part of the reason why we were in a drought was 2013. More rain by January 12th than we did by December 31st, just a few years ago. Getting cool outside, Livermore 45, Santa Rosa 45, San Francisco 49 degrees. Widespread mid-30s tonight with all the water still on the roads. Temperatures near freezing. Watch out for some patchy black ice tomorrow morning. If you're driving somewhere kind of away from the cities, be smart and don't drive too fast on those roads. It could be a little bit slippery. Livermore tonight 35, Santa Rosa 38. Even San Francisco dropping to 43 degrees. So why the change? One area of low pressure is finally moving out, gave us the rainfall this morning. When that moves out, there's nothing that's going to be moving in except for a big ridge of high pressure, which is going to cut off the rain track or storm track for a while and give us a beautiful day for your Friday. Look at all the sunshine, the blue sky that we're going to have out there. Low 50s in San Francisco for your afternoon temperatures. If you're heading into the city for a dinner reservation Friday evening, the weather will finally cooperate. Now let's fast forward to next week. Here comes an active jet stream racing across the Pacific. Notice it's aimed a little farther north than it was last time. Not directly at us, but close enough that rain will be likely, especially in the North Bay, by the middle of next week. No time soon, but something to look out for. Rain will return next week. Watch out for that black ice tomorrow morning. We are mainly dry for at least the next 96 hours, 4 days. And even though the drought is officially done, there's no reason to stop conserving. We want to keep the water for as long as we can, the water that we're now receiving and now have in our reservoirs. Mid-50s tomorrow, San Jose and Napa 55 degrees. Should be a very pleasant weekend. Mid to upper 50s for highs. We're dry through Tuesday. Rain returns next Wednesday and next Thursday. That's your forecast. We'll be right back.
Well, a bit of a mishap for Sonny Obama. The first family's Portuguese water dog actually bit White House get so badly that she needed stitches. 18-year-old family friend was kind of going in for a kiss. The dog got nervous, bit her. Out of character for the family-friendly breed. Sonny is the younger companion of 8-year-old Bo, the official first dog. Big honor for Vice President Joe Biden today.
At a surprise ceremony today, President Obama awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The vice president had no clue about it. Look at his face. Unbelievable. During the ceremony, the president called Biden the best vice president ever and also dished out some jokes.
This also gives the internet one last chance to talk about our bromance.
I don't deserve this, but I know it came from the president's heart.
The president called Biden, quote, as good a man as God has ever created, and also praised the vice president's family.
That's it for KPIX 5 News at 5. CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley coming up next.
Alan and Veronica will see you tonight at 6 o'clock.